Victoria is an integrative child psychiatrist who specializes in children with complex or treatment-resistant mental health conditions. In her book, Reset Your Child's Brain, she outlines how everyday uses of interactive screen devices can easily overstimulate a child's nervous system, triggering a variety of behavioral, learning, and mental health symptoms. So please welcome Dr. Dunckley.
So currently there's quite a few disturbing trends that are on the rise in children. There's a huge increase in psychiatric disorders. Alongside this, there's been a huge increase in psychotropic medication prescribing. There's also a lot of medical conditions on the rise that we used to only see in middle-aged adults. There's also a big increase in disability filings for mental health and neurological issues, and an increase in the gender achievement gap. So meanwhile, we have a huge increase in daily screen time for kids. Grade school kids are averaging 4 to 6 hours a day. Older kids are averaging up to 10 hours a day. And the question becomes, if we know that it's linked to all these different disorders, why isn't the public more aware? Why aren't doctors more aware? Why aren't educators more aware? And the reason is because there's a lot of myths that are perpetuated in our society for various financial and political reasons. It's just important to remember that the nature of screen technology itself is really at odds with what the brain needs to thrive. One way to look at it is that it really acts like a stressor and induces a fight or flight reaction. So every time a child picks up a device and interacts with a device, their nervous system gets more revved up. This is what I call electronic screen syndrome. And all of these mechanisms overstimulate the nervous system. The brain goes into a state of chronic stress. And eventually, blood shifts from the front part of the brain to the deeper parts of the brain, to the more primitive parts of the brain. And the frontal lobe starts to suffer. It controls everything from executive functioning, so getting things done, focus, planning, prioritizing, to emotional regulation, impulse control, creative expression, and even empathy. A child that is revved up and exhibiting signs of electronic screen syndrome they can present in a variety of different ways, but one very typical way is that the child will have a dysregulated mood. Cognitively, they tend to have very poor focus, they're forgetful. Behaviorally, they'll tend to be very oppositional, defiant, poor social skills, and then eventually in the long term we see academic failure, including in college students, especially young men are really struggling, and unemployment. So what's the solution for all of this? What I do with the people I work with is I call it the Reset Program, and basically it's a strict extended electronic fast for a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks. This allows the body clock to resynchronize, rebalances the stress hormones as well as the brain chemistry. In doing so, this helps the blood flow return to the frontal lobe and improves the child's mood, cognition, and behavior. And it can be quite dramatic and in a matter of weeks. These are some recommendations for kind of some policy changes that can be made. We really need to pace introducing technology to kids based on developmental needs and also individual needs. We need to remember that restricting screens during youth actually protects the frontal lobe and going to help them be more likely to develop healthy screen habits as an adult. We need to use electronic fasts regularly and liberally. We need to use wired-only access. In school, we need to have kids be allowed to do fast. They need to be able to be opted out of iPad and laptop programs, and they should be allowed other tech-related accommodations as well. So if you can't read that, this guy is saying, it keeps me from looking at my phone every 2 seconds. So this is just a reminder that we know from human behavior that none of us are very good at actually changing our habits. It's much easier to change the environment if we need to change something. But it's important that, parents, including teachers, provide good role models. Thanks for absorbing a thing.